Okay guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Metastic Days. So today I thought I'd record a short video to tell you guys how I study in second year. So let's get started. But before I do that, I'll show you guys my review book. This is High Yield Neuroanatomy. So it is near exam time, so I will usually use mostly the review books to actually review the concepts. Additionally, I do past papers, and in the past papers, anything I don't know, I'll actually write questions for it. I know my writing is pretty bad, but usually I'll do past papers and then write questions for them with no answers usually, so that I can review them. And this is for the things that I struggle with. Usually in past papers, I'll get to know, okay, well, I'm not really great at physio, and so that gives me a good idea. So this is the textbook that I used for anatomy. So I do keep all the textbooks that I use right here. And then this is a wonderful coloring book that I use for building a good grasp on anatomy, because sometimes it's difficult and I like to do creative things. So a bit of an artist. So, for example, for learning the brain's anatomy, I did this. I colored through this, I read through it, tried to understand it, and it gave me a really good idea because you have to know all these little holes and what goes through them. So this is great for helping with the anatomy part, and it's really fun actually. So apart from that, I do watch a lot of Najib videos, especially for neuro. So I have some cranial nerve notes from these were from Ninja Nerd for cranial nerves, but then I also have notes from Dr. Najib. So this is on the brainstem. Obviously, they're not the most fancy, but they get the work done, and that's what matters. So I usually use these in my study sessions. I'll have them there, and anything that my friends mention extra, I'll usually write that down into these papers. I'll usually ask questions based on that, and I'll show you where I make most of my questions. But before I do that, this is the Anki setup that I am using. I mainly just use Anking, and I have activated my Neuro cards. So that's mainly what I do. I just do my Neuro cards in there. Obviously, I haven't been reviewing very well, so hence I have 330 cards to review. And then apart from that, I have a really good Excel setup, guys. Setup for different subjects. So you can see physiology and then like subtopics, and I just have questions on it. And I do this because I felt like last year when I did Anki, there were so many cards that at the end I just stopped doing it. And I didn't want it to be like that because I wanted to review topics. I wanted to have it on hand. And so what I did was I made this Excel sheet. Now the answers are in white, so they pop up at the top right there. Now if I'm doing great on a question and I understand it, I'll maybe just mark it with green. And then that way, next time I know I don't need to review that question, I may just review it a week later. And this is a really good way not to use Anki, but still to put active recall and spaced repetition into your schedule of studying. This is another sheet I have, and this is really just for checking my lecture slides. Like I've been through the topic. Okay, what are the topics I might struggle with? So anything in so for right now, I'm not really doing it in a way where I'm like, okay, I struggle with A, B, C, or whatever. Right now, I'm just checking through the lecture slides that I actually done, that I've actually finished off with. And it's not really a conceptual thing, so I'm not that great. I don't have all these topics mastered. I know it all looks green, but trust me, I don't know as much as this Excel sheet is showing. So I do struggle with these topics, but right now I'm just kind of checking through the topics just to make sure I've covered everything. So this is a pretty long Excel sheet. If you go down, it's a lot of anatomy, honestly. Neuroanatomy is extremely extensive. And then what I do is typically the way my study routine goes is I usually do lecture slides last, which is a bit weird because it's unorthodox. Usually people do lecture slides first to know what's important and what to really study. The reason why is because I felt like neuroscience was a very uh, important and conceptual module that I needed to really have a good understanding, conceptually speaking, before I went into the testable material. So I really spent the time and energy to understand and discuss and get a good grasp on neuroanatomy. And neuroanatomy is something that you forget really quickly, so you have to constantly review it. And I struggle with it. Trust me, I don't have it mastered. But I feel like the biggest thing that was really helpful for me was discussion and asking questions from friends, having them explain. So the way our study sessions really work is we each choose a topic and we each maybe write questions on it, teach it however we prefer. I personally like the question answer way, where it's kind of like a rapid fire round. It's almost like a game. You ask each other questions and you try to get the answers, and you realize, oh, there's something that you caught on that another person didn't catch on. And so you guys can fill each other for your knowledge gaps, and I think that's really, really helpful. So typically, I'll go over my Najib videos, read through the textbook, write questions, and try to answer those questions if I can. And then prepare for a topic. Let's say I'm teaching my friends medulla and someone else is teaching pons. I'll prepare for that as well and maybe get some good images off of Google to explain to another person. Teaching really helps you master the concept. And then lastly, I'll go through lecture slides for any missing gaps in my knowledge. And so that's a little bit about my schedule. So anything that I see in here that I didn't have and that I didn't read through, I will put it into a question format over there so that I can have a good grasp of everything I need to know. And I know it's a bit convoluted, but I did it for neuroscience just to get a good grasp. Usually, most people will just go through lecture slides first, and then if there's anything needed, they will cover through that. Obviously, for the minor subjects, I don't actually read through textbooks. I just read through the lecture slides. So that's a little view into my study routine. I make sure to try to review something every single day, even if it's for 2 minutes. Whether it's your Anki cards, whether it's anything, even doing 2 cards a day, it's progress. So doing something is better than nothing. I wish you guys the best of luck. Last resource I use that I forgot to highlight is actually MedAngle. Once I cover a topic, I'll actually do the MedAngle questions for it. They have a new feature. It's called Smart Stacks, I think, and you can search up based on tags, let's say cerebrovascular disease, and they'll have like, let's say 21 questions on it, and you could do those questions on spot. Because I'm preparing for the test, I'm also doing their multiple choice questions for each subject. So yeah, thank you for joining in.